Hello and welcome back to another Thoughts Per Episode Doctor Who edition. Today we will be talking about Season 2, Episode 2, Lux. Our first historical episode of the season, also our first god-dealing episode of the season. I guess that's something we should probably be defining now. The Doctor and Belinda end up in 1952. I was going to say they head to 1952, but no, they end up there. And are quickly encoiled. That's not a word. Is that a word? I guess it is. Alright, they're encoiled within the whole shindig of events that's going down around town. Today we're dealing with the God of Light, I guess, except unlike in most kind of mythological senses, this being of light is not one of virtue and, all that stuff. It's hard to define, actually. I mean, it's the big giant animated character that comes out of a screen, but he is most definitely not benevolent. This episode did some really fun things with the idea of animation and the idea of metatextuality, as in, characters dealing with the idea of fiction and or being fictional characters themselves. But I also think that there were some aspects which might have gone a little bit too far, or maybe perhaps dragged on a little bit too long. We'll get to those. But just to talk about the main point of this episode, Mr. Ring-a-Ding, him coming out of a screen and looming over people and them screaming and stuff, I think that was executed brilliantly. I think it's a shame sometimes we see a lot of this stuff on the next time trailers for the next week, and by the time we get there we expect it, and so maybe we don't talk about it as much in our reviews about the episode, or we don't give it as much time as maybe we should if we were just binging the episodes and seeing things for the first time in sequence that way. But no, honestly, the whole Mr. Ring-a-Ding interacting in the real world as an animated figure in a universe where that kind of thing shouldn't really happen, and people's reactions to that, I think, was really cool. Honestly, I think maybe in some ways they could have done a little bit more with that, but especially at the end as well, when he's feeding on the Doctor's bi-generation energy, I suppose, and becoming more and more realistic and more kind of monstrous as he becomes more detailed. I think that was a really nice touch too. And they also had some fun with the idea of dimensions and being a two-dimensional character, and the way that the Doctor and Belinda escaped being 2D and animated was to talk about their feelings, which was not only expository for each other to learn about each other, but also, it would help them become 3D and three-dimensional and escape the animation, which is fun, but it does rely heavily on wordplay because, I think we could probably find some 2D animated characters who are three-dimensional characters within their own narratives. I will also say, I did really enjoy the whole meta-narrative of the Doctor and Belinda breaking out of a screen, because as they start to figure out that they're supposed to do that, and they start walking towards the camera to do that, obviously, I was like, please don't break my monitor. I don't have the money to replace this monitor. I can't be having you climbing out of my screen. Probably break my desk with the weight of you two on it. And so it was really fun to see them continue with this gag and have them climb out of the screen and meet the real life Whovians and talk to them and have that gag about their favourite episodes. And it's just, of course it's Blink. Of course it's Blink. He's like, you didn't like The Adventure with the Goblins? And they're like, Blink. Blink is our favourite episode. The one that you were hardly in. And they made a joke about fans being hypercritical and nitpicky like I'm being right now. Yes, hello, I see the reflection of myself. But in my opinion, they lingered too long with them and got a little bit too serious about, but they're fictional characters too, and they're the kind of characters that don't get last names, and they won't exist anymore. Oh, they're making a giant sacrifice to save us by not existing anymore, by moving the narrative forward. I'm not sure if that really worked. I'm not sure if that landed for me, sorry. In all honesty, this isn't something I would really notice or pick out, or is even usually a problem with Doctor Who. I didn't like the music choice. I didn't like the soundtrack choice. They were using an older track from a previous season of Doctor Who, and it just didn't fit the tone for me, personally. Or maybe it made it feel too dramatic for what was happening. I don't know, but it kind of took me out of it, honestly. I'm pretty sure it was a song from the 11th Doctor's era as well, so I was like, why are we calling back to that era randomly in this scene? I don't know. But then, of course, they were alive at the end of the episode, despite the rules of the narrative kind of making that not make sense, or it makes sense, but we're going to cut away from them again at the end of the episode anyway, and they're never going to be brought up again. So while I liked that we did that, I didn't entirely love the execution of it. Also, this entire episode, I was kind of going, oh, Belinda, you're having a hell of an introductory episode. It's not always this weird, I promise. One thing I do want to mention, though, in terms of it being a historical episode, I love that they did not shy away from the fact that they were visiting an era of America where segregation was a thing. Because there have been episodes of Doctor Who, I'm looking at you, Series 3, where they've kind of hand-waved it away. And I get it, because maybe you don't want to make your entire episode about that, but it still feels awkward if you don't address that and depict it, because then it's not realistic, and then it's overlooking important parts of history which should not be repeated. And I actually think they hit the perfect balance in this episode of making it a part of a story and not shying away from it, but also not making it the entire episode. Not that it would be bad making it the entire episode, but that's clearly not what the focus for this story was meant to be. But they did tie it back into, like, when Mr. Ring-a-Ding used it as a way of kind of attacking the Doctor and Belinda, because as previously established, to the gods everything is just a game. The other aspect of this historical episode of Doctor Who is something I think that Doctor Who's been a little guilty of for a long time now, which is, and you know, maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing, but centering an episode based on a figure from history that is just niche enough that most of the audience probably don't know who they are. You know, maybe I'm the only one here making this complaint, maybe it's just a me thing, but I don't know who that dude was. The guy rolling the cinema reels, and he was barely in it, and I didn't get to really learn who he was apart from the fact that his wife, you know, died and he was sad and missed her. And while I don't think we should go back to the purely educational, no aliens historical episodes of the first Doctor's era, for instance, you know, maybe if we're going to do a historical episode and we're going to put figures from history in it, I would prefer it to focus on them a bit more than just have them essentially be a cameo. That's a nitpick, though. Most of this is nitpicks. This was a really good episode, I should establish. I would give this episode an 8 out of 10. I think it was great. Had a few hiccups, had a few bumps in the road. But yeah, it was really cool to see this, like, animated villain. And I sort of hope we haven't seen the last of Mr. Ring-a-Ding. I know that he kind of ascended into omnipotence and kind of became everything and nothing. But I don't know, you could always find a way to bring him back. He's cool. He was very charismatic. I would like to give him head pats and tell him he was a good villain. Not a fantastic villain. He's not reaching the heights of the Master, for instance, or anything like that, or the Daleks. I do hope we get to see Daleks soon. I think I'm starting to get to a point where I'm like, new Doctor Who is great. These new villains are great. I know that we were regurgitating old villains too often in the past, but I would like to see some Daleks pretty soon. I know next week's episode is a sequel episode. That's exciting. Doubt it's Daleks. Don't want it to be Daleks based on what we've seen. Should we talk about the Next Time trailer? Because it has me so excited. The prevailing theory for the Next Time trailer is a sequel to the episode Midnight. I don't know if that's meant to be a leak. I don't think it's a leak. I think it's just based on the fact that in the first kind of trailer we got for that episode, or not really trailer, but like little teaser, little preview, it was a sound clip of the Doctor being like, I've been here before and I was so scared. And people went, when was the Doctor the most scared? Midnight. I'm personally of the belief that Midnight is best left alone. The whole point of that story is that we do not know what that creature was, and while it could be fun to do some more stuff with that creature and not reveal what it is, I don't know. I think it's a masterpiece and it's perfect left alone. There's other theories about what it is, like maybe the return of Vivashta Narada, which I think is sorely overdue. But this entire time, I don't know why, from the second we got the title screen of The Well, even though it's like a vault door opening and stuff, the second we got an idea of I Was So Scared and it's a sequel episode, for some reason my brain went straight to The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. And that was only backed up when we saw the scenes from that trailer where I'm pretty sure we see the Satan Pit. It's got a thing around it now, but it looks recognizably similar. And given that this season, or this era of Doctor Who, is focused on these godlike creatures, and I know I was banging on as well at the end of the last season about similarities to the Beast from the Satan Pit when we were talking about certain aspects of the revelation of Sutekh and all that stuff with the same voice actor, but I just can't get it out of my head. That shot from the trailer With the big pit, it looks like the Satan pit. The Doctor was very scared when he met the Beast because it challenged his understanding of the laws of the universe, again on theme for this era of Doctor Who. And at one point in the new trailer, the Doctor says something along the lines of, "What are you?" And I'm pretty sure he has a similar line in The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. And the way he says it in the trailer sounds like he's reiterating that question that he had the first time around. Since that... Okay, now we are truly going into tinfoil hat territory. Are you ready for this? Since that episode aired, we have made some new discoveries about black holes in real science, which seems to indicate that information can eventually escape from a black hole. What did we do with the Beast? We consigned him to a black hole, because that would destroy him. Job done. Story over. What if the black hole evaporates trillions of years in the future, and that's where this story is set? I don't know, maybe the other people in the episode of Time Travelers. Yes, I'm changing the narrative to fit my theory. This isn't what the case is, but still, they could play with the idea that things can escape from a black hole in physics. I don't know. My money for next week is the Impossible Planet / the Satan Pit sequel episode. People are going mad. That sounds like midnight, but people are going mad. You know what happened in the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit? The devil possessed Toby and drove him mad. Huh? It's a sequel episode to the Satan Pit, I'm telling you right now. I did see someone say it would be a bit weird to have 2 God episodes back to back. But last episode we had 2 Dr. Light episodes back to back. I'm not sure they're too worried about seasonal structure in that regard. Anyway, I will meet you back here next week for When I Have to Eat Crow, and it's a sequel episode to some it's a sequel episode to the Slitheen episode. Oh no. I've been here before. In extended media. It's Raxacora Cephalopatorius. This is where the Slitheen originate. I'm so scared of the Slitheen. If Russell T Davies pulls a carpet pull, I'm going to be so mad. I assume that's one of his episodes. I actually don't remember which episodes are written by who. Anyway, I'll meet you back here next week for The Well. Let me know what you think it's going to be down below. And yeah, see you then.